Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and it's been a little while since I've done a video, and it kind of feels like I say that every video now, but I'm definitely feeling a little bit motivated, so hopefully I can actually crank out a few videos kind of like all in a row and space them out so I actually have somewhat consistent content. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get on with the video. This is going to be my July TBR, and what I've been doing is kind of smaller TBRs. I think around usually 5 books is what I plan on doing. 5 books just seems very manageable, and if I hit 3 or 4, or even all 5 of them, I feel accomplished rather than hitting like 2 out of 10 or 12 or something like that. But let's go ahead and get started. And the first one's gonna be the audiobook. Obviously, I don't have well, I guess some people do have physical copies of audiobooks and stuff too. But anyways, it is The Wolf Age: The Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, and the North Sea Empire by Tori Skeie. Skeie, I believe. It's Skeie. But anyways, I've read actually quite a few history books in the past couple of months. Some of them are actually really, really good. And the only one that I was like really excited for and it ended up being very meh was a Viking book about the Great Heathen Army that invaded England in the 9th century. So I'm like, I gotta get like a really good Viking book to kind of make up for it. And this one sounds really cool. I really like King Canute, reading about King Canute, and I feel like he gets glossed over in a lot of histories, especially like British/English histories. Obviously because he's the Scandinavian sort of interloper. But the North Sea Empire is really cool. I think in a way, and it's like I said, it's just totally different compared to kind of the more like kind of Western Europe feel that England and France can always get sort of together in a lot of medieval histories. But yeah, the North Sea Empire actually was kind of a thing for a couple generations there, and I'm hoping this one, like I said, kind of make up for the Viking history book that didn't really pan out to be any good. And like I said, no, hopefully this one will be good. I just said that about 10 times. As you can see, I'm super rusty from not doing a video in about 3 months, and it probably doesn't help that I try to like do these in one take because I just have no motivation for editing. But let's just move on before I dig myself a deeper hole here. I've been doing pretty good for about a year and a half now, reading at least one Oxford very short introduction each month, and I definitely want to keep that going. I don't know if you can see my little collection going on back here or not. Probably do a library tour at some point. I've said that for years, so don't get your hopes up. But we got Peter Cole's Cosmology. I've just not been having great luck with physical science, like physics, chemistry, astronomy, that sort of thing. None of them really have been just good 5-star awesome reads for me. A lot of them are just I've always just been like either pretty good or actually kind of boring and just bad, I suppose. So I'm hoping like some of these shorter books, like an Oxford very short introduction book, on kind of just like the cosmos, the universe, kind of like general astronomy and stuff like that, I think might do the trick, hopefully, and that'll kind of get me going in the right direction for some more like nice popular science books. In the physical sciences, if you have some recommendations for books on like physics or astronomy, anything like that, leave some comments down below. I definitely need them, especially for that topic, for sure. Next up is one I'm probably the most excited for, and it's The Beginning Naturalist: Weekly Encounters with the Natural World by Gail Lawrence. And this one actually turned out surprisingly. I found this at my favorite used bookstore. It's not really in driving distance, but kind of like on a little like vacation I did. I've been there a couple times. It's like one of those friends of the library bookstores where they're all donated, but they actually have an actual wall. Maybe not wall isn't the right term, but like a good probably like 16 shelves or something of nature/biology/animal books and stuff like that. And I had a giant stack and I had to put a bunch back. But I think it was I got 10 books for about $31. I got 10 books, 4 hardcovers. They're all in like really great condition, stuff like that. But anyways, I found this one after I started like looking at it in the car and everything. It actually looks like it's autographed by the author, Gail Lawrence, right there. So I was just like, what? But yeah, I got 2 or 3 of these kind of just nature observation, kind of like field note type books, which just seems to be what this one is about. And she's a New England naturalist. I think this was written originally in the 70s, but I think this is like I don't know if this is just a new edition for the late 90s and stuff. But she lives in New England, and it's 52 kind of observations, one for each week of the year, kind of like what's going on in her neck of the woods and stuff. And obviously I live in, well, I guess it's not obvious if you're new to the channel, I live in northern Maine in the middle of nowhere, and some of my upcoming videos definitely will be more outdoorsy, kind of bring back the nature walk videos, hopefully. But yeah, I've already read the first like 2 or 3 chapters on it, and it's really good dealing even with like winter insects, which is kind of like I've always kind of puzzled about that, and I know some of my friends have too. I just, where do all the insects go when it's like, 30 degrees below zero outside and stuff, and she's already kind of dealing with that. So yeah, it's definitely good to get kind of back to basics and just thinking about kind of some of the big picture things and everything. And I'm really, like I said, just really excited to eat through that book. I'm not quite sure if that's probably the right terminology, but anyways, let's move on to the next one. For our history book that I know I'm going to end up really liking here is Dexter Hoyos's Carthage's Other Wars, Carthaginian Warfare Outside the Punic Wars Against Rome. Dexter Hoyos is probably, I guess, would be considered probably the world's foremost expert on the Punic Wars. I've read at least one other book by him, if I could see it. It's probably like right here, and I'm just not seeing it, but it's called Masters of the West. Oh yes, because I have my Punic War shelf right up there. Is that weird? I do like my Punic War shelf there. But Mastering the West, Rome and Carthage at War, really, really good. But this book, Carthage's Other Wars, it's dealing with pretty much all the conflicts Carthage had with everyone else besides Rome during the Punic Wars, which is going to be really interesting. Carthage fought literally like a 2 centuries long kind of battle over Sicily, which kind of still like ended up being a stalemate to the First Punic War, against Syracuse and other Greeks of Magna Graecia. Just kind of really interesting, kind of dealing with a lot of stuff that granted, there's not a whole lot of textual support for the First Punic War, for example. I mean, there is, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still like really little, and there's even less for stuff like this. So it's going to be interesting, kind of dealing with Carthage's dealings with, like you say, the mercenary war in between the Punic Wars. Probably they're dealing with the Etruscans and stuff. I know there was like a big giant naval battle with Carthage, the Greeks, and the Etruscans. Over either, can't remember if it was Corsica or Sardinia, I think in the 500s or something like that, BCE. So it's going to be interesting reading all about, kind of all these kind of like far-flung kind of, I guess more, not supported, what am I thinking of, just lesser well-known kind of conflicts and everything. And Carthage is just really cool, just a really tragic kind of story if you really think about it, for like an empire that it was just got in the wrong fight essentially against Rome and whatnot. But yeah, just really looking forward to that one. Like I said, I know this one is going to end up being really good. And lastly, another book that I bought at that used bookstore here. As you can see, like I said, I bought, I think, 10 or 11 nature books there. I couldn't help myself. Found Birding Without Borders, An Obsession, a Quest, and the Biggest Year in the World by Noah Stryker. I've read one other book by him, and I actually was smart enough to remember to actually find this one first before I started the video. And it's The Thing with Feathers, The Surprising Lives of Birds and What They Reveal About Being Human. And this is like 10 brief profiles on 10 different bird species. Really enjoyed that. Just a really good kind of popular science book on intelligence of birds and whatnot. This one is kind of like a memoir about his big year. And in bird watching, a big year is like when you try to tally or sightsee and observe as many birds as you can in a given time frame, usually like a year, of either a region, say like the state you live in or the country you live in, or in his case, doing the whole world. And I think, if I remember correctly, when I was reading about this book like a year ago, I ended up not getting it, but then I panned out because I saw it here. Saw that story. I want to say he broke the record, I think it was about 5,000 something birds or something like that, around the whole world. He had the record for like a year or two, and then another man surpassed his record a couple of years after him. But it's just amazing, like seeing over half the bird species in the whole world, all 7 continents in the span of a year. I know there's gonna be lots of cool kind of just travel log, memoir, adventure stuff going on. Obviously, probably descriptions of the birds, kind of the science of their biology and ecology, stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be a good blend of adventure and memoir and science, and I think those kind of genres all mesh really well together, especially with like field scientists, which I believe he is to some extent. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one as well. So there are the 5 books that I actually plan on reading. Hopefully I get a few more in. I've been averaging, I think, 8 or 9 books a month so far in 2022. So hopefully I keep that going for sure. Let me know what book you're most excited to read in the month of July coming up. And I guess probably by the time I upload it, it'll probably either be the 1st or 2nd. So, this month, I shouldn't say coming up. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this far. If you have, don't forget to check out maybe my Instagram, Etsy shop. That's the best way to support the channel for sure. Twitter, stuff like that. And always remember, whatever you end up reading in the month of July, read victoriously.